We're going to open up governance of the site for user input and ultimately a vote, which means that people will have a say and be able to give any feedback they want on the rules and regulations that govern how we develop the product. So the reason why we're doing this is just because it's a service that people are sharing really personal and intimate information on, and it's just becoming increasingly important to more people. We just passed 175 million users. So we figured that, in addition to helping people share information and connect with people, that we should also open up the process of how the site is governed in order to make it just a better process for everyone.
So who is going to own the Facebook content? The person who puts it there, or you?
The person who's putting the content on Facebook always owns the information, and that's why this is such an important thing, and why Facebook is such a special service that people feel a lot of ownership over. Right? This is their information, they own it.
And you won't sell it?
They often want to. No, of course not. I mean, they want to share it with only a few people, right? I might upload a photo album that I only want to share with a few members of my family or my friends from high school, and I mean, it's really important that that information only goes to those people, and people feel a really strong sense of ownership over that, which is why it was really important to say, we trust our users, and that's why we're going to open up governance like this.
You say there's a contradiction between people wanting to share information online and wanting to control it. Why?
Well, I mean, I think everyone wants to be able to see all the information that's out there, and at the same time, everyone wants to make sure that they're only sharing their information with the people who they want to see it. So it's important that we design a system where people can do both.
So just to be clear, you're not going to sell or share any of the information on Facebook?
What the terms say is just, we're not going to share people's information except for with the people that they've asked for it to be shared. And everyone gets privacy settings, which has always been one of the big differentiators for Facebook, and what makes it a really different service for people is you can say, I want this photo album to go to these people, or I want this note to go to these people, and the privacy controls on Facebook are really unparalleled by anything else.
But how are you going to make money if you won't sell or share people's information?
The model is advertising, right? I mean, people's information is their own, but there are a lot of different companies and entities that want to buy advertising to take the information that they have, whatever their message is, and reach more people with it. So our advertising is growing really quickly just because the number of people who are using Facebook around the world is growing quickly, right? So just past 175 million users. Pretty soon we'll pass 200 million. So with that, the advertising revenue is growing as well.
But aren't people so outraged because they perceive you as being a private site? That's how you've made your money.
Well, I feel like people have a very unique relationship with Facebook, where, on most other services, their privacy is an important thing, but on Facebook, privacy is central because people are sharing their own information. So people feel a very strong sense of ownership over it. And when they perceive that we do something that they don't want, then they are very open about giving us feedback, which is why we went out of our way to set up this governance system that encourages them to give feedback. And makes it so that we're more transparent. I think a lot of the reaction that we've seen is more a reflection of how much people care about Facebook and what their relationship is with it and how much they trust us.
Every moment, every day, someone somewhere is liking something on Facebook, opening a link, making a comment, leaving a telltale digital trace behind them. The harvesting of that trail of data has brought us to the suburb of Arvada, a middle-class matchbox set of tidy houses in a swing state where every resident is a highly valued political target. But even before we knock on their doors, we have information that tells us how open they are, how conscientious they might be, neurotic, extroverted, or agreeable. That's because we've seen a cache of campaign data from a Cambridge Analytica source. It's extrapolated from Facebook activity. The data sets out values for 5 different psychological measures for 136,000 citizens here in Colorado. Cambridge Analytica insist they deleted all the data. Janice? Hi. Nice to meet you. Meet Janice, who's lived on this street for 20 years. She says she's never taken an online personality survey. It's something she wouldn't do because she says she's too wary of making private information public.
So it says here you're a medical nurse, is that accurate? It says where you live, how old you are. This is from 2014. But then it gets into these personality measures. So you'll see there's agreeableness, conscientious, openness, extroversion and neuroticism.
Neuroticism.
Yeah. On their scale, you're relatively open. Certainly among your neighbours, you're one of the most open people on the street. Does that feel?
Yeah, that feels like that's
feels accurate.
Accurate.
And it says that you're, I guess, tending toward introverted rather than extroverted.
I'm not an introvert.
On meeting you, that doesn't strike me as being the
I'm
case.
an extrovert for sure.
Or do you think it's more
But online, she's an introvert. Janice tells us she only uses Facebook lightly, and for that reason can't imagine how they've made these assumptions about her.
But Facebook has always been, for me, a window I looked in and kept the shutters kind of tight on my side of things because I don't want people to look at my life.
Are you surprised by the idea that there is this kind of granular level of detail that is being collated by political campaigns about people so that that messaging can be tailored specifically to you?
Absolutely. It's a manipulation of our society by people who don't really care about our society. They care about their business, they care about their bottom line, and they aren't here for all of us. Other than they want to manipulate all of us because we're either a voter or a consumer. And that's how they look at me. They don't look at how safe I am or how good my schools are.
Mark Zuckerberg has this week apologized. Do you take any kind of consolation from that?
Not really. He didn't do it until people deleted their profiles and started closing their accounts. He didn't care about America until it was going to hit his bottom line, or he thought that the trend might go the wrong way.
I want to start with just a basic question, Mark. What happened? What went wrong?
So this was a major breach of trust, and I'm really sorry that this happened. We have a basic responsibility to protect people's data, and if we can't do that, then we don't deserve to have the opportunity to serve people.
And so in that, it just made me more disgusted with him.
If you believe Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook is now doing everything it can to ensure users' data is locked down, and it can't be obtained again by third parties like Cambridge Analytica. But what about the data that's already out there, the data that was derived from those Facebook accounts, the data that appears to form the basis for these personality profiles? If we can get a copy of it, users would be naive to assume that someone else can't as well.
Facebook's Cambridge Analytica scandal has prompted comparisons to the Wild West, legislators declaring the harvesting of data and its use in political campaigns further evidence of a new and lawless frontier.
Somebody comes to you and says, look, we have data which allows you to micro-target the universe, and also we will tell you what type of messages they are receptive to based on their personality and psychological profile. You're very likely to say, where do I wire the check?
We showed veteran campaign consultant Rick Ridder an anonymised version of the data we have. He says it's a disturbing departure from the kind of thing you normally see on a campaign.
I've never seen it, certainly in Colorado, and never seen it like that in any national campaigns here in the U.S. or in the U.K. Personality data has some real implications for democracy throughout the world, because fundamentally what you're able to do is identify, or think you're identifying, individuals who perhaps have a neurotic personality, and therefore they're going to be more likely and more susceptible to be persuaded by, shall we say, apocalyptic messages. If I knew that you were an open personality, I might have more optimistic language.
Graphic profiling.
Should we look at the personality scores? So in terms of agreeableness, you're more agreeable than your husband.
That would be true.
That's true. Also on the list, Deborah and her husband, who live down the street from Janice. So how surprised are you that a foreign company might hold this kind of...
Very surprised, and I find it disturbing.
Why do you find it disturbing?
Because that's personal information, and, you know, just to be able to have strangers be able to kind of make assessments about who we are and what our views are, whether it's accurate or inaccurate, it's unnerving to think that somebody has and is keeping track of that information.
I mean, is it disturbing and distressing enough that you would think twice about engaging?
Absolutely.
Online?
Absolutely. It gives me pause to think about what information, and then I'm questioning, like, if I scroll down something and click on it to look at like more what's involved in the post, if that's them gathering data as well, it makes me really hesitant to even want to engage to that degree.
It's a neighbourhood that puts a premium on privacy. Many residents we tracked down were reluctant to discuss the story on their front porches, and certainly not on camera. A number wanted to see their data but were unwilling to do interviews, too upset by the way their privacy had already been abused. Others, like Barbara, didn't mind so much. She agreed to meet us in a local park near her house. She's a lifelong Republican and a Facebook devotee. Do you use your like button a lot on Facebook?
I love it. Not like, I love.
You love it, okay.
Or both.
Her personality profile felt the most accurate of anyone we met. It suggested she's an introvert.
Yeah, I tend to be naturally, yes, but I can open up, especially one-on-one in a crowd. I can if I know I have to, but I'm most comfortable to be quiet.
And finally, neuroticism is one of the other categories here. You're not particularly high on that scale, so you're not a worrier about external threats. That's not something that...
I'm not, because I have peace. I just have peace in Jesus Christ, and that's honestly how doesn't matter what's happening around me, because I'm at peace.
Does it worry you that somehow people have kind of extracted this information about you from your online profile?
It didn't worry me because I figured they were.
So you've always assumed that anything you put out there, that it's going to be collated in some way?
Yeah, I just figured they were.
Well, Barbara was right. She says she doesn't mind that someone harvested her Facebook details, but others do. CA told Facebook it deleted the information, but clearly there are profiles derived from that work that circulate still today, and capturing them all feels an impossible task, even for Mark Zuckerberg.
Kylie Morris, well, Facebook declined our request for an interview. In fact, we've been asking the company for an interview every day since the 17th of March. In a statement, they said, "What happened with Cambridge Analytica represents a breach of trust for which we are very sorry. It is now clear to us that there's more that we could have done, and as Mark Zuckerberg said, we are working hard to tackle past abuse. The ICO has launched an investigation into Cambridge Analytica, and we are assisting with this. And Cambridge Analytica themselves told us they have never passed any data to external parties," adding that they had deleted the data harvested from Facebook and took steps to ensure that third parties did so too.
I want to start with just a basic question, Mark. What happened? What went wrong?
So this was a major breach of trust, and I'm really sorry that this happened. We have a basic responsibility to protect people's data, and if we can't do that, then we don't deserve to have the opportunity to serve people.